Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. Now, I came across something very concerning recently about surveillance and how surveillance can be conducted on an individual or private citizen without their knowledge or consent, and how behavior or just wrong think can result in the morally indignant but overly powerful taking action against a private citizen to ruin their career or their work or screw up a job opportunity or something like that, or deny them services. It doesn't really matter. But now there's no legal authority or any other authority that these people are operating under. It's the moral authority of, we have a right to go and discover and fanatically sort of surveil people just in case they've engaged in wrong think, and then to punish them for that wrong think, even though they've committed no crime or done nothing wrong. These diversity, equity, inclusion type, the diversity directors, HR directors, they've been trained, particularly when it comes to straight white males, but they've been trained to believe that pretty much every straight white male is a Nazi, and every third straight white female is a Nazi. And so if they search hard enough and intensely enough, they will find something they believe that'll just prove, we've got another Nazi. And if they can't find anything in the first pass, they'll just double down, triple down, and so on, because there's got to be something there. There has to be evidence somewhere of what these Nazis have done. And so they're fanatical to that extent. There's no requirement for them to do this. There's no legal requirement, no policy, certainly not written, no policy requirement. There's actually no, other than their fanaticism that's come from their education in gender studies or something, come from their education, that there are Nazis everywhere, under every bed, in every closet and around every corner. There are Nazis. You just have to find, you've just got to look hard enough. That's all it is. So now, surprising, normally people don't get your personal information, like your full name and your date of birth and some other reference points of, say your, your medical card or something like that. So they don't have that information. So it was interesting. We were doing a gig, which is a short-term gig, and we only had about an hour meeting just near a hazardous chemical plant. And the policy the company has, which is reasonable enough, I guess, is that if you're within a certain distance of this chemical plant, then you have to divulge lots of personal information, like medical information, and they want copies of the driver's licenses and a lot of information. I'm not sure that all this information is necessary, but it was presented to us. Look, you either do this or you don't get the gig. And again, the health and safety regulations around being close to a hazardous chemical waste sort of thing. So I get all that. Now, what I tried to do is get the meeting moved so we didn't have to be within that distance or that proximity to the chemical hazards, and then therefore we wouldn't need to divulge. I'm always reluctant to divulge lots of personal information. I don't like, because I have this feeling that in probability it'll be used against us in some way. That may not be, and it's probably straddling concern, reality, and paranoia all in one. But I'm more comfortable if I don't have to give. If I've got to give it, I've got to give it. If you want to get, I don't know, something like a driver's license, for example, you've got to give them personal information, date of birth and whatnot. I get all that, so anyway, we divulged the personal information, and I thought that was the end of it. It was in case there was a chemical explosion, and they would need that information to identify people and to maybe arrange for medical care and so on. So yeah, okay, why not? Let's just get on with this. Now we met. I didn't think it was close enough, but the meeting that we had sort of there was within I don't know, 20 meters, I guess, of very extremity of the the hazardous chemical stuff, and the actual chemical stuff was at the other side of that building anyway. So I don't think it was necessary. It's just bureaucracy really imposing itself. But what I didn't know was that the diversity officers and the HR department assigned of this company, they would take that information and then they would go online searching for. So one of our contractors or employees, actually in this case, it's Billy Bob, or and so they would get Billy Bob's date of birth and all the information, and they would start putting it in online, just typing in to see what would come back. So they were searching, they were looking. Now this is without his knowledge or consent, or without my knowledge, or as in the executive officer, and so this was all done. They've just taken on themselves. They have this right. They're searching for Nazis, and they have this right. He's a straight white male, therefore they have the right. And I was sort of surprised by the chutzpah in this, that they're so morally superior that they have the right to do whatever the fuck they want. Now, if there was evidence that there was some sort of wrongdoing or some sort of crime, yeah, sure, then I understand. But then it should be turned over to the proper authorities. If they believe there's some sort of infringement on the company policy, then they come to me and we talk about it, or with the evidence, and we look at it. But instead, they've gone off, in secret, in silence, in background, to engage in this surveillance. Now they've got the guy's date of birth, they've got this, they've got that. Now some of the online registration processes for various online forums and so on. Once you put this information, some things will come back. Then if you do a bit more searching, you can sometimes find where they registered under their name, Billy Bob, Jimmy Jack, whatever. But they then got some sort of a pseudonym, like an online name of I don't know, Mickey Mouse or whatever it is, and then you can start. Okay, he's Mickey Mouse. Let's have a look at what Mickey Mouse is. So then they sign up for that forum and start having a look at Mickey Mouse's post. So this is sort of how they do it. But I'm surprised at the effort and the time they put into it. The time, I mean, fuck. This is all in the hope of maybe we'll find a Nazi, and the only sort of starting point of this, well, he's a fucking straight white male. I mean, that's it. And no, I know the guy. I've known him for quite some time, and he's not one for making inappropriate utterances. And so I can imagine that because he's sort of quite a confident, self-assured guy, and wears a sharp suit, and I can imagine that they would target someone like him because he's operating at a higher bar level than they would, and he certainly wouldn't be an affirmative action appointment anyway. But anyway, he gets the they do this searching online. They find some stuff. Now he's far from being a radical, by the way. But he's made some things commenting about mass migration and about affirmative action and that sort of stuff on online. Nothing I would rate as radical, but anyway, he's been probably not as careful as someone like me would be, but he's so they managed after going through that. So they say, so I just get this terse thing saying Billy Bob's not welcome on site anymore. We're on in our offices anymore. So it's okay, like, why? We don't have to tell you. Now it's in the contract we've got. Well, yes, you do. It's our sovereign right to determine who goes and who comes and who we employ and who we don't and who we get to do what work. That's our sovereign right. You don't tell us, unless there's you can point to criminal activity or something of that nature, and then we'll take necessary action at our own discretion. I didn't quite phrase it that way. It wasn't quite that blunt, but that was it. So they no. So I had to show them the contract, and so here's the contract. So legally, this is the, so if you've got a problem, you have to tell us what it is. You can't tell us who can come and go unless you can point to illegality or misbehavior or breach of something. And of course they can't. They behaved illegally, not him. they've gone off and secretly used his personal information. And so it finally dawned on me. So they then tried to go to the next step. Oh, well, we believe that he holds wrong-think views. That was sort of the next step. So, well, how would you know that? And I know how he talks and behaves. So there's no way they could have got that from him and his behaviour. And, did they, maybe they hacked his phone or something like that. So I was looking at it and I was able to get them to make a few more, divulging of where, and I realised what they'd done. So I pointed out to them, look, you are the guys who are behaving illegally. You're insane. I didn't phrase it like this. You're insane, paranoid, activist lunatics, and you've behaved illegally. And you've put in, what seems to be an insane amount of time trying to find anything on this guy. For what? I mean, what's he done? Oh, nothing. We just don't like. No. Well, that's not good enough. So it came out anyway. Just to sort of finish off here on the close out the loop is they'd engaged in some quite intensive online stuff. Now I assume they did the same to me and didn't come back with anything. And that's. And I've been fairly careful. Now I've told him you need to be really careful. You can't, these days you can't afford the slightest slip up because you're going to get some diversity fanatic somewhere being paid to actually go around, fancying themselves as some Nazi hunter, which is, double speak now for any straight white male who doesn't support, mass migration or something. So he's taken that on board, but the rest of us who were involved, which wasn't a large team, the rest of us who were involved, obviously they found nothing on it. So I assume they did it to all of us, but they've done it without our knowledge. So I've actually amended our contract now to say that if they engage in this, it will be treated as an act of illegality, and any consequences, negative consequences that we may suffer will be we're going to require compensation, and the matter has to be fully addressed through a court of law. So I went back over the documents that we'd signed with them just to make sure that I hadn't slipped in some little clause somewhere that said any of this information we can use in any way we want at any time without your knowledge, and there wasn't one. So I wouldn't be surprised if they now try and slip that in and other people may not notice. But I just wanted to mention this because it illustrates, I think, the things that are going on out there. And when someone gets enough personal information on you, you assume it's private and confidential, but it's not. And these people are using it to go, as in, 2-year-olds feeling like they're fucking big and tough to go supposed Nazi hunting. It's very scary. Being a Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.